Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Welcome to Lunch and Learn Live. It's good to see everyone today. Happy to be here. Miss Carissa, how was your weekend?
It was fabulous. How was yours?
It was good. It was a nice, restful weekend. Just time to collect and regroup. And my book chapter is due today, so spend some time on that. So we'll let everybody know when that is released. But yeah, busy weekend.
That's very exciting. That's
Busy
exciting.
and restful. Yeah. So next weekend is we did my daughter's senior pictures. That was certainly the highlight of the weekend.
Yeah.
Especially mommy moments where I'm like, really,
So
is that my
bittersweet.
kid? My God, she looks so beautiful. You
Mm.
know, and yeah, next weekend is her last full weekend home. So.
Wow. Wow.
Just digesting all of that. But we've got a lot to talk about today.
Mhm.
So Carissa and I we came across something called Plastic Free July. And
Mhm.
of course, it's the end of July. So I wish we would have come across it a long time ago, but we haven't and didn't. So we want to talk a little bit about plastics today. We're going to talk a lot about plastics because they're kind of everywhere and we're seeing some really scary stuff in the scientific literature about plastics and our exposure to plastics. And I mean, you guys, you should all know that with the amount of microplastics that you are carrying around in your body right now, you're carrying essentially like a credit card worth of plastic at the minimum.
That's what they say. When I read that, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what's going through our body. And then we're wondering why we don't feel good. Yeah, I mean, basically, plastic is a toxin for our body and is not natural, normal. It wasn't, we weren't, we shouldn't have been born with it, even though we are now being born with plastics already in our body. So super scary.
That's even more alarming.
But it shouldn't be that way, right? We weren't designed to have microplastics in our body, but it's so prevalent because of, I mean, just look around. I mean, I've got client folders here, right here. Here's plastic, right in front of me. There's plastic on our computers and plastic on our phones and plastic, here's my chapstick coated in plastic, so all of the stuff all around us is plastic and it's having an impact on our health. So we definitely want to talk about that and dive in on that today. I mean, those of you who are joining us in the chat box, give us a shout out, say hello so we know that you're there and listening, and share with us a little bit about, I mean, how many plastics do you see around you right now as you're just looking at your environment around you? I mean, think about all the plastics that we use, from Ziploc bags to the plastic grocery bags, the plastic straws that we drink out of. And we want to talk about how we can, remove as much as possible our reliance on plastics and our exposure to plastics, because it's a toxin. I mean, it's something that we really need to pay attention to, very seriously, because as you know, at your health, toxicity is the number one thing, is one of the number one things that destroy our health. Okay. And so if we're toxifying by having exposure to all these plastics, we're not moving in the right direction with our health. And so we should be concerned about it. But those of you who are just joining, I go ahead and type in the chat box, say hello, let us know that you are watching, and tell us about your exposure use of plastics. So if you missed it, we're going to talk a little bit about an organization called Plastic Free July and how they're working to, help people eliminate plastics. And we're going to talk about why it's so important. I mean, Carissa, give us some of your thoughts.
Well, we found out about this a few years ago. So we worked really hard in just doing things around our house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, we put a water filtration system in our home because we always used to drink out of plastic bottles. And then, I mean, I carry around my water bottle everywhere I go, so I use this constantly. Reusable bags. Yeah. Reusable bags are big in our house. We try to reduce our garbage too as much as we can. So we typically have like one bag per week because we do a lot of recycling, a lot of compost. Again, the reusable bags are super, super helpful. And I feel like it's made a significant difference because when you asked for people to look around, I looked around my room and I barely have any. Everything's glass or wood.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely have these plastic folders.
Yeah, I have those too.
All around my desk, and even the stapler here has got plastic on it. My daughter's got her headphones here.
Well, see, it's those things, right? That, I mean, they're not in my vicinity, but when I'm at my work desk, I have those. Things too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important for us to start to highlight. So we walk around in life, all of us, right? We're kind of like, we don't necessarily think about the impact of everything in our environment. And of course it would be overwhelming. The good news is we've got some power and control over what we expose ourselves to. And if you're working with us and you're our clients, then you have been or are working and know how to really detoxify your body, which is really important. But we don't always think about how everything impacts us, and the truth is the things that are in our environment, the things that we're using every day, we absorb those things. I mean, I think it's scary when we start to look at the statistics, on the microplastics. There was a recent study, and remember I said babies are being born. So the University of New Mexico Health Sciences, they did a study of 62 human placenta samples, right? And they found that every single one of those placenta samples actually had microplastics. Okay. So that's pretty scary. And the chemicals that they found, the polymers that they found, there are things that are used in like plastic bags and water bottles, PVC, nylons, all of these things that we're using every day. I mean, if you've been to the gym, you see everybody's walking around with these plastic water bottles. I cringe when my sons are like, "Oh, we got to stop and get water bottles." I'm like, "No, you need to fill the water bottles that we have." And, we have so many water bottles, like, stainless steel water bottles. We've got so many of them. So, but people don't realize, like, they're like, yes, I'm drinking my water and I'm drinking bottled water, except they're drinking bottled water from plastic bottles. Okay. And then, oh my gosh. So my daughter's barn, I've mentioned this several times to the barn owner. So they have their water bottles. They have, the big plastic water bottles that they get delivered. They probably have like 10 of them, and they are sitting on the side of the barn in direct relation to the sun. So that sun is beating on those plastic water bottles all day long. Well, guess what's happening, you guys, as the sun is beating on those plastic water bottles? It's leaching. It's leaching those plastics into the water. My daughter has direct orders, and I'm calling them orders, to never drink any water in the barn from, they have the water fountain so the workers can all have water during the day. And you guys, but this is the same thing with water bottles in general. Like, we leave them in our car, we leave them other places, or some people have their plastic water bottle and then they use it and they refill it all the time. And each time they do that, they are now, making their exposure even greater and greater. So Katie asks, do water bottles that say non-BPA, are they okay? Well, that's a really good question. Obviously, non-BPA is going to be better than BPA. However, it's still best to avoid any kind of plastic. So if you can use stainless steel, or ultimately glass is going to be your BFF. So if you can use stainless steel or glass, you're going to be in a much better position overall. So I hope that answers your question. I know we have some plastic BPA bottles, but they mostly just sit in the cabinet until I can sneak them out of the house when the kids don't know that they're there.
Yeah, they're kind of one-time use for us too, because even though they're PBA free, which like you said is great, there's still chemicals in there that are hormone disruptors, cardiovascular, exactly. Thyroid, reproduction health. So it's actually kind of scary to hear the statistics of the, babies.
Yeah.
And getting them tested. That's really sad.
It is. It's totally sad. And you guys too, so the BPAs are a big deal, and we are exposed to BPAs in a lot of different places. Even like receipts are a big source of BPAs. Yeah. I take those receipts, at Costco, they always try to draw the smiley face and hand them to my kids. And I'm like, nope. And I go and I grab them before the kids get them. I mean, limiting their exposure, maybe increasing my exposure, but I'd rather do that and making sure that you wash your hands and get that stuff off. I mean, I was actually surprised. I recently ran a urine toxicity test on myself. And you guys if you want to do a toxicity test where we test for things like BPA and molds and heavy metals, we can do that. The lab charges somewhere around $600 or $700 for the urine test. But I was actually really surprised when my results came back and my BPA levels were high. And I'm trying to figure why on earth would my BPA levels be high? And I haven't quite figured it out yet because I don't use plastic water bottles. I wash my hands after using those receipts. I can only think that maybe it was something in the hoses or something when we were living in the RV or something of that nature, even though they're, human grade, even consumption grade hoses, maybe there's still BPA in their linings and stuff. So I was surprised about that. So we never know really how much toxicity that we are exposed to, unfortunately.
Well, we never think of cosmetics too, right? Like I think of my toothpaste. Yeah. And I have yet to find I know they have those toothpaste tablets.
Yep.
That I'm trying to find that are good, that are clean also.
Yep.
But toothpaste, your shampoo and conditioner, I've tried to switch to the bars instead. Lotions, all that stuff. So you're better off making those things on your own and then just storing them in glass.
Yeah. And that's a new trend. You can even now they have the shampoo. I haven't tried them, in all honesty.
I like them.
I haven't tried them, but they do have shampoo soap bars, right? Do they have?
They're a little bit to get used to. I have to do this because it's just a little strange, but they have castor oil ones, shea butter ones. Those are the ones I gravitate towards. And the ingredient list is minimal. So there's not much
less space.
It really does. And I put it they're just in my shower, and they're a lot easier than having all those shampoo bottles.
Do they have conditioner?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've gotta find some. We've got all of our shampoo. I usually buy in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
It lasts forever. So we're still in our forever state, but that's something I certainly want to try, because the microplastics, they certainly, they have a big impact. I'll tell you, there was another study, what they did, and they looked at over 200 people who had surgery. And they found that 60% of them actually had microplastics or nanoplastics in their main arteries. Okay. And then they found that those who had cardiovascular issues like heart attacks or strokes or things like that, they actually had 4.5 times more chances of having those events occurred when they had those microplastics detected. So it's these microplastics are having a definitive reaction. But it's not only like cardiovascular disease that the microplastics are having an impact to. And it makes sense, right? Think about it. All of a sudden, you've got this little microplastic flowing through your veins and arteries, and your body's like, that's not supposed to be there. And so what's it going to do? It's going to go and, encase that microplastic to protect it from your body. And now you've got cardiovascular issue.
I would imagine it kind of just binds the receptors, right? Because where is it going? Where is it going?
And it makes sense. Your body, it doesn't belong there. So your body's going to protect you. Remember, your body doesn't do anything by accident. So we've got to be really careful. But outside of just like the cardiovascular effects, think about how it disrupts the hormones and the reproductive system. I mean, that we're creating inflammation in the body. The microplastics disrupt our microbiome. Talk about all the infertility, right? It impairs sperm quality. And then like we also have to think about Alzheimer's, dementia, our cognitive function. So the more microplastics we have in our system, what the research and the science is saying, well, that then impacts too our cognitive function. So now we're not operating at our best anymore as a result of that. So all of these things are pretty serious when it comes down to it. So we have to start asking ourselves, like, do I really want to use this? So I hear the doggy. There must be somebody walking in.
Probably my mailman. It's mailman time.
There you go. It happens. So, we don't want to alarm anybody or create panic or create anxiety, but this is something that we all need to be, aware of and start to think about, okay, well, how do I avoid these things in my life? So what Carissa and I really liked, and I'm going to see if I can share this. So Plastic Free July, even though July is over, we still want to share it with you. Let's see, share screen, window, tab. Here we go. What they have. And guys, we posted this in the Facebook private community. We posted this in the files section, so you can access it right there. If you are not in our private community, join our private community, because we post a lot of stuff in our private community that we don't post on our public page. So lots of extra stuff, including daily affirmations and daily workouts. So you definitely want to be in our private community. If you're not, you just want to look out for South Bay Wellness Private Community, and you can join our private community that way. But this document, we already uploaded it there. But you can see they've got 31 days of ideas for July on how to avoid plastics, from, reusing what you already have, avoiding bottled drinks, refusing plastic bags, ditching disposable cups, avoiding prepackaged produce, skipping straws, choosing reusable utensils, avoiding plastic food wrap. So I don't want to use all of our time here reading this list to you, but lots of really great ideas that this organization has put out. And it just brings our consciousness to a new level where we can start to become aware of the things that we're using and be more conscious of it. Just the whole Tupperware thing, instead of using the plastic stuff to store your food, go ahead and buy the, like the Pyrex, the glass stuff that's not going to expose you to that plastic stuff. And please, 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 if you use a microwave, first of all, don't use a microwave. Okay. A microwave still emits microwave radiation. Go ahead, try it. Stick your cell phone, don't turn it on. Stick your cell phone in the microwave and close the door. If you can call your cell phone, that stuff is getting through. Okay. Because your phone will still ring if it's inside your microwave. Again, don't turn the microwave on while your phone is in there.
Okay? That'll be disastrous.
You don't, turn your microwave into a storage space instead of someplace where you actually prepare food. Okay. The microwave also changes the chemical composition, the molecular composition of your food. So you do not want to use your microwave. Nix it. Plus it takes up space on the counter. If you're using it on your counter, not even worth it. Get a food dehydrator and put that in its place. So, but anyway, so do not, if you do use a microwave, do not ever heat your food in plastic, even if it says microwave safe, because that's no different than like the water bottles that I spoke about baking in the sun. Okay. All right. Good. What questions do you guys have? What thoughts do you have? Share with us. Carissa, what do you want to add here?
I'd love to add about even wildlife, because that's something big for us too.
Yeah.
Because animals often mistake the plastic for food, or they become entangled in it, and it leads to injury or death. So I know, like, every time we go to the beach, my husband, I mean, it's a running joke because he doesn't just sit there. He's, walking up and down the beach to clear all the garbage and plastic.
Aww.
So yeah, and I think it would just be nice if we all like kind of understood that and took responsibility for it, because the animals have like no say in it, and the future generations have no say in it.
Yeah.
So and it just makes our planet look a lot prettier.
Yeah.
Having a cleaner environment is something that I love and I strive for in my community. So I think that if we all kind of did that and all influenced one another, we would get a lot further than what we are, because like you said, it's just everywhere in our world that we don't really think of it, right? Like, we're not like, oh, that's harmful, because why would a company produce something harmful?
Mm-hmm.
But it happens, and we're kind of aware to that now. There's other products that companies can use, and I'm hoping that the more knowledge that we have, the more we can change that environment for them too.
Yeah.
But let's just start here and just keep encouraging people to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important, I want to say as a society, we've gotten lazy. Like we've adopted convenience really over health in so many areas. I mean, just look at our diets, right? Like it's the processed food, already prepared foods. Like people opt for those over like healthy, fresh food.
Yeah,
because it's convenient. So we've gotten really into this convenient mindset. And yeah, so some things might be more convenient, but there is a cost to that convenience, and that cost is long term. I mean, it's kind of scary to think that babies are being born, like to look at the results of that study and see all the microplastics that were there in the placenta, right? What's showing up in going through the umbilical cord for babies. All of that like that is just absolutely scary in my mind, and we've really got to do something about it. When I was a professor at Hofstra, I'd always teach my students, and they were surprised. They were like, well, when does the health of the baby begin? And, first would be, when the baby's born, and we'd be like, nope, that's not it. And then it's like, well, when the baby's in utero.
When the spark happens.
Nope, that's not it. It's not even when the spark happens. It's before that, right? Yeah. It's the preparation that mom and dad's bodies have as they're growing, because whatever toxins we have in our body as women before the baby is born impacts the baby.
Very true.
And then whatever toxins dad has been exposed to, that too impacts the sperm. And there's a lot of scientific literature that's pointing to how the microplastics are, of course, impacting sperm and sperm motility. And that's something that we need to be concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair to say too, there are ways. I talked about, sometimes things being inconvenient, but not every change has to be inconvenient, right? Like switching your plastic water bottles over to glass or stainless steel. Be careful. The stainless steel isn't just lined with plastic on the inside, because that is very common. But that's a very helpful and easy and convenient thing. Changing out your Tupperware to like glass storage or Pyrex, that's a really easy thing to do. Opting not to use plastic ware when you're out and about, but instead of having, maybe reusable silverware. They make really nice reusable silverware with bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important as well. Those are really easy swaps that we can take. Swapping our shampoo to bar shampoo instead of that shampoo is easy. Having the reusable bags instead of using more and more of the plastic bags, that's something else that we can do. And every little bit really makes a difference. Yeah, Suzanne says this is part of the reason why so many women are having problems conceiving. Absolutely. It is definitely one of the reasons why that's happening, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when, years ago, when I was a kid, I don't remember women having trouble conceiving babies, right? And the rates of infertility these days are so high. And of course, the first jump is to move to the fertility doctor, and then they start hormone injections and this, that, and the other. But really what it comes down to is toxicity, right? The human body is smart. So we're going to have more trouble conceiving if we're carrying higher levels of toxins than if we're not. And so hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And if you are having trouble conceiving, then the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you are going through a detoxification process to try to remove and eliminate a lot of these things from your body. So number one is to stop exposing yourself as much as possible, right? I get it's hard. It's hard in this day and age, in this world that we live in. Like, plastics are all over the place. Okay. But number one is to avoid as much as you can. And then number two is really make sure that you detoxify your body. And number three, make sure that your organs, glands, and systems are operating at their best, so that your liver can work on detoxifying stuff. Make sure that you're hydrated so you are pushing through stuff. Nature's solution to pollution is dilution. So we want to make sure that we are, hitting things from all different angles to make sure that we're ensuring that we're doing the best that we can, because those plastics, they create inflammation, they create cellular damage. They are toxic to the human body. They're not supposed to be there.
Danielle, that was really great. I don't know if you made that yourself, but nature's solution to pollution. I was like, that is awesome.
Yep, I heard it somewhere. Full disclosure, I heard it. It's not my trademark. I heard it somewhere, but it's absolutely true, and it rhymes, so it's awesome. It's easy to remember, right? Mm-hmm. Nature's solution to pollution is dilution. Don't say it 10 times fast, but but there you go. Absolutely. So it's something that we have to be on the lookout for and aware of.
Awesome. I love this. I think just even highlighting everything to help people really understand the importance of reducing plastic can hopefully make everyone more motivated to adopt more sustainable practices in their daily life. Because I hope that we provided everyone with some really good solution and some knowledge to understand. Because, right, sometimes we don't want to make changes because for what? But when you have that knowledge, it can really empower you to be like, well, this is what I'm doing it for. Not only for myself, but the world around me, which I feel like is really wonderful to do. So this has been awesome. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
So whether you're live or watching this later on, be sure to put in the comments, what is one thing you will do to release or relieve your exposure to plastics? And number two, what is one thing you will do to make sure that you are detoxifying your body? So number one, what is one thing you will do to limit your exposure to plastics? And number two, what's one thing that you will do to help detoxify your body? So go ahead and be sure to put that in the comments. And I want to take a look, Carissa, what are we covering next?
Danielle, I was just on. I was I mentioned next week. Next week is back to school.
All right. So next week we'll cover all things back to school. So if you have questions or things you want us to talk about when we talk about prepping for back to school, and that's from both perspectives, whether you are someone who works in a school, whether you are a parent with kids going back to school, or whether you've got kids who are going back to school, we'll kind of cover the spectrum of all different stuff in terms of back to school. So that is next week's hot topic. We hope that you'll be here for our Lunch and Learn live, and we'll see everyone next week.
Yeah. Bye. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.